So what has been the boom in service accommodation? Like when I say service accommodation, I mean like short stay. What was the catalyst for this? So where you see now all over the country and in towns and cities, you've got people that are taking a residential home and changing it to short stay accommodation.
I think it'd be right to say that there's never sort of one specific factor. I think it's a number of things. I think the rise of say Airbnb is a significant factor. That certainly kicked off the idea of people renting out a room in their home on a short stay basis, and that business model has morphed into people letting whole properties. The origin of Airbnb was very much someone staying in your home. So I think there's been a series of things, and then I think just with that a growing awareness. And I would class myself within that. If I went to stay somewhere, I'm in North Yorkshire, I typically might go down to London every couple of months. In the past, I would always have stayed in hotels. Now, it depends. I wouldn't always stay in service accommodation, but it would certainly be on my radar. And certainly if I was going with more than one person, and I think that's the tipping point for me. If I'm just going for a night on my own, then.
So walk me through like the simplicity of it. So right now, if you are a home owner and you were currently doing a long-term rent model where you had tenants come in and stay for say 6 months to a year, they now have got the ability to change it up because of these new rules that have come in, and they can offer it as a short stay accommodation. Is that how it is basically working? Or explain to me the different types of service accommodation, explain the different types of businesses that are coming into this, and which can sort of maybe explain why it is booming so much.
I guess at the simplest level, you've got somebody who owns a property that they want to look at maximising their income out of, and as you say, rather than doing 6 month plus normal tenancies, they say, look, I think there's a market here for doing short stays. So that's the sort of owner operator, if you like. The one thing I would say as a caveat to all of this, and it is a fantastic business, to get into, and I think it has some real positives as a business. It's highly systemizable. You're dealing with an awful lot of repeat tasks, which means it's very systemizable. You can write procedures for everything. It's easy to outsource. But I would say, unless you're doing it at a certain scale, and there's no magic in the number, but I always think about sort of doing 10 plus units. Unless you're aiming to get to that size, you're probably never going to get the real economies of scale of enabling you to sort of properly outsource. If you look at hotels, I mentioned Travelodge earlier. Basically, that's what Travelodge do. They don't own the buildings they operate in, or in the vast majority of cases, there'll be an investment company that owns that building. They will lease it and then let out the rooms to their guests. So on a much smaller scale, that's what you're doing. You're basically letting the property from an investor landlord. You're acting as the operator, and then you're getting the guests in and looking after those guests.